A stunner in the evening before the NBA draft. Breaking news, Celtics fans. The Boston Celtics have traded Kristaps Porzingis in their second massive trade of the 2025 NBA offseason, dealing him to the Atlanta Hawks in a 3-team blockbuster trade, bringing back Georges Niang and a second-round pick to Boston. Look, on the onset, Celtics fans might not be happy about that, but they are under the second apron now officially. We're going to break it all down in just a moment, but make sure you are subscribed to the channel. This is why you subscribe to Celtics Today by Chat Sports. When the Celtics make a move, we make a video. We are 52,000 strong here at Celtics Today, and we are on our way to 53K. Lock us in. Go down below. Hit that big red sub button for the best Celtics offseason coverage all summer long. We're bringing you instant reactions to these Celtics moves like we did last night with the Jrue Holiday trade and today with the Kristaps Porzingis 3-team deal. Let's break it all down right now as Boston receives Georges Niang and a second-round pick in exchange for Kristaps Porzingis. The Hawks get a second-round pick of their own. The Nets, I believe, were the team that sent away these 2 second-round picks. Not sure exactly who they belong to at this point. Regardless, it doesn't matter. Brad Stevens, again, stockpiling picks for players that many thought that he would end up having to attach draft capital in order to move off of, but he gets more assets back in a deal. Now 3 second-round picks have been added to the Celtics treasure chest in the past 24 hours, and they get off of Kristaps Porzingis' $30 million contract. The Nets, for their troubles, get another first-round pick. They now have 5 in the first round next tomorrow, and that's actually insanity to me. They also get Terrence Mann in the deal as well to make the salaries work. Look, Brad Stevens, this was a salary dump. Georges Niang makes $8 million. You get off $22 million worth of salary here, and we had long speculated that the Nets could be a facilitator for the Celtics to get off a large chunk of money this offseason, and they do right here. $22 million shed in the deal. That's actually insane to me. Look, at the end of the day, the new CBA, it sucks. It sucks. The Celtics now are officially under the second apron by $4.5 million, and there could be more room to make more moves and get even further closer to the luxury tax number. They're only about $15 million above the luxury tax at this point, so we'll be very interested to see where they go from here. But look, to get this return for Porzingis, as far as an on-court value goes, it's not great for Georges Niang. We'll break him down more in a little bit. Let's however, look to how this trade kind of came to be. Bobby Marks saying here, though, trading Kristaps Porzingis now puts Boston under the second apron. The Porzingis and Jrue Holiday trades relieve Boston of $180 million in luxury tax penalties. Now, if you remember, the Celtics were facing $250 million of luxury tax penalties. Now, by just making 2 moves, they basically get rid of over 2/3 of the luxury tax penalties they will get hit with come the trade deadline. Now, going back to the whole Porzingis thing, like the reports were saying that 10 to 12 teams were in contact about Porzingis. We heard from Brett Siegel earlier today that the Pelicans were interested, the Warriors were interested, the Lakers. We heard about the Spurs having interest as well. But then the Hawks kind of came along late in the afternoon. Mark Stein saying this, at 6:30 Eastern. He was like, the Hawks have now emerged as a serious trade suitor for Boston's Kristaps Porzingis. Jake Fisher and me reported. Jake also reported earlier today the San Antonio Spurs, likewise, had registered trade interest in Porzingis. There's Brett Siegel again, kind of reading the tea leaves a little bit and dropping some breadcrumbs in order to get this in the Celtics trade finalized. Says the Hawks are discussing Georges Niang and Terrence Mann as being the players involved in their pursuit of Kristaps Porzingis. Look, it ended up happening. Like, it is what it is. This is what the Celtics got back in return for Kristaps Porzingis. They go out and get Georges Niang. And I say the return is not returning to Boston for per se, but he is a Boston guy. That is worth something of note. He always seems to have these standout performances against the C's as well. Look, he's a role player, off the bench guy who can absolutely shoot the outside shot and has been a very reliable player over the last 5-6 seasons. If you guys don't know, Georges Niang actually has the most wins in the NBA since 2020. So he's been a constant on a lot of winning basketball teams. Now he comes to a situation in Boston where they're going to be, maybe potentially middle of the pack Eastern Conference next season. And there's a roster's in limbo. Like, look, I don't even know if Georges Niang is going to be a long-term piece for this team, but he is a 40% three-point shooter. And I'm not going to give you much on defense. I'll tell you what, he's not going to give you much on defense overall. But this is just a guy who you have off the bench here who can shoot the outside shot. Who knows? Maybe they end up moving off of Sam Hauser in order to accommodate Georges Niang long-term. I want to quickly look at the contract for Georges Niang. I believe he's on an expiring deal, but I want to get the numbers to be certain for you guys here. Just give me 1 second. I'm on Spotrac right here, and it is an expiring contract in 25-26. So you get Georges Niang here on a 1-year deal. look, there could be an opportunity that Brad Stevens ends up flipping him. We'll talk about that in just a second. But before we do, I want to get your guys' input on this deal just on paper as it looks right now. Grade the trade for me, A, B, C, D, or F. Porzingis going to Atlanta for Georges Niang, and the Celtics will end up with a future second-round pick as well. A, B, C, D, or F. You guys let me know what you guys think down in the comments section. All right, now we transition to kind of this aspect of it. What's next for the Boston Celtics? Could Brad Stevens actually, end up attaching one of these first-round or second-round picks, that he has accumulated in order to flip Georges Niang and then get closer to the luxury tax line? Like, that is completely possible. Keith Smith, who's always on tap with the latest on the salary cap and specifically with the Celtics, he's always a long-time follow. Definitely follow Keith Smith NBA on Twitter. Shout out to him. Way more to come, he says. But the Boston Celtics are now out of the second apron by $4.5 million. The Celtics are $7.5 million above the first apron and about $15.4 million over the luxury tax. So they could send away Georges Niang in a non-taxpayer mid-level, but that team wouldn't even have to use all of that money either. So you'd be able to get off $8 million of Georges Niang, and then you're under the first apron. Like, that's legitimately insane to me. Wouldn't you have to trade Sam Hauser at this point? He would go back to being a really highly valued contract. Or they can end up making more moves here, get $15 million more off the books, and we're out of luxury tax entirely. There's a lot yet to be determined with this Celtics offseason. I think more could even happen leading up to the draft tomorrow night. Who is next to go for the Celtics? Is it going to be a Sam Hauser? Could teams throw a wild deal out there for Derek White or Jaylen Brown? We have heard from Shams Charania that teams are quote-unquote showing serious interest in a Jaylen Brown trade this offseason, throwing willy-nilly wild deals to go out and acquire the Finals MVP for 2024. Could they throw out a crazy Derek White trade? Me personally, I'm on the defense of a Derek White. I think he's an untouchable kind of player for the Celtics due to his contract value and the on-court value that you would probably receive back in a trade for him. Even a deal like the Desmond Bane deal to the Magic would signal to me that Boston is entering a rebuild, and I don't think they're going to be doing that or in the business of doing that with Jayson Tatum on the roster for years to come. So looking back on this trade, Celtics trade away Porzingis to the Hawks. Look, before we get out of here on today's show, I want to just thank Kristaps Porzingis, because a lot of people have been throwing dirt on his name over these past few months about his inability to produce at a high level for the Celtics in the postseason and the mystery illness and all that stuff. Like, this guy, did we even forget what happened in Game 1 of the 2024 NBA Finals? I know my guy, producer Coop, who's sitting next to me, does not forget about what happened in quarter number 1 of the 2024 Finals. Like, he won the finals for us in legitimately like a 5-minute stretch. It was some of the craziest basketball that I've legitimately ever seen in my life. So thank you, Kristaps Porzingis. You were the cheat code. Yeah, you weren't always available for us, but when you were, the Celtics just unlocked an entire new level of their game, and I'm going to miss KP a lot. Jaylen Brown's going to miss KP a lot. The whole team's going to miss KP a lot. There was awesome chemistry with the Boston Celtics these past 2 seasons, but unfortunately only resulted in 1 championship, and the new CBA just decided to make them have to crumble this team into pieces and, screw CJ McCollum. Glad he's with the Wizards now. That will do it for today's edition of Celtics Today by Chat Sports. Look, more rumors are flying around right now. There's stuff coming out about the Celtics wanting to move into the lottery of the draft that's coming up tomorrow night. So we're going to have you with all the latest. When anything comes out about the Celtics, we will break it down right here at Celtics Today. So lock us in. Hit that big red sub button. 100% free Celtics content all offseason long. We'll see you guys in the next one. And as always, let's go C's.